So there's remembered wellness, and the other side of it is remembered illness. You remember a sickly state and you can fall sick. One study that was conducted in 1981 in Kiribati, which was previously called Gilbert Island. Here, the spinal tap was researched. Now, spinal tap is you put an injection in the spine and extract a bit of the spinal fluid. So sometimes it leads to headaches. Now, they discovered that 1 out of 11 people experience headaches after the spinal tap. And this particular sample group, it was ingrained in them. Look, we are doing this procedure on you, and there's a very high chance that you could get a headache. Now they found that 7 out of 15 people got headaches. So this was the reverse of remembered wellness. It is remembered illness. A very, very common phenomenon is the white-collar hypertension. The patient has perfect blood pressure at home, but when she visits the doctor, she finds the blood pressure is increased. So again, this is remembered illness, the mind making the body sick. An extreme example of this is given by Dr. Herbert Benson, who was one of the pioneers in mind-body research, in the book, The Relaxation Response. So he talks about Aboriginal tribes in Australia. Some of them have this custom of the witch doctor of the tribe boning people. So the tribals believe that if the witch doctor cants certain spells and bones me, I have no hope. There is no way I can live. So he says, look what happens when the witch doctor gets annoyed and takes the bone and starts waving it around at someone, lifting the other hand skyward and chanting something. That person's expression changes completely. That person thinks, now I'm done with, I'm a goner. There is absolutely no hope. The expression changes in a few minutes. That person is suffocating, holding the neck. In a few more minutes, the person has fallen to the ground. And as unfortunate and grotesque as it may seem, in a few hours, the person has passed away. The intellect has decided that there is no hope, you just cannot live. That this is the mind and the body connection. How do we incorporate this in a model for holistic health? Holistic health is definitely a lot talked about, and people nowadays are far more aware, and this is the direction in which they wish to go. I would like to present you an ancient model that was given in the Vedas 5,000 years ago. The Vedas say that this body has got 5 dimensions to it, or our personality. In other words, we have got 5 aspects of our physical, mental, intellectual personality. These can grossly be looked upon as sheaths. If any of you has read yogic literature, you may have come across the 5 sheaths, the Koshas. The first is the gross as dimension, or the Annamaya Kosha. This is our gross body, which is made of earth, water, fire, air, and space or sky. The gross body that we are all familiar with. The second dimension, or the second sheath, is the vital energy sheath, or the Pranamaya Kosha. The vital energy sheath, the pran is the vital energy. Chinese would refer to it as chi. So the enhancement or depletion of the vital energy impacts our personality. And this is the second dimension. The third dimension is the Manamaya Kosh, or the mental sheath. The mental sheath in the mind, we are harboring sentiments, desires, hankerings, aversions, hatreds, fears, varieties of sentiments. This is an aspect of our personality. The fourth is the Vijnanamaya Kosh, the intellectual sheath. In our intellect, we have convictions, values, beliefs that impact. Ultimately, our life goes in the direction of our values. Our convictions and beliefs, they decide our lifestyle. So the intellectual dimension of the personality is the Vijnanamaya Kosh. And finally, the Anandamaya Kosh, the bliss sheath. This is the final one. Ultimately, it's all about happiness. We are all striving for happiness. And if we have values, if we have beliefs, it is because we feel that these will lead to happiness, to peace of mind, to contentment. So that is the fifth aspect. Now what do they say about disease? There's an ancient text called the Yoga Vasisht, where Ram, he traversed his kingdom. He was the king. And he found people are sick. He was moved to pity. He came back and asked his guru, Vasisht, what is the cause of disease? Vasisht said, Ram, disease begins in the mind. Now that is a gross simplification, but he is emphasizing the mental aspect. That when in our mind we harbor negative emotions, poisonous sentiments, these poisonous sentiments, they disturb our mental sheath. In other words, the mental sheath is not the way it is supposed to be. So it is disturbed by negative, poisonous, deleterious emotions, sentiments, feelings. That then disturbs the vital energy sheath. That is the Pranamaya Kosh. And that then manifests in the gross body as disease. So, if we wish to cure somebody, the mere physical cure is not enough. The mind also needs to be taken care of. As a traveling Swami, Swami is like a monk in Buddhism or a priest in Christianity. So it's my job to counsel people on various things. And in the Indian culture, people come for all kinds of counseling to Swamis. They expect a Swami to be knowing everything. So I'm supposed to tell them about health and about emotions and about marital conflict and about God. So very often people would come to me complaining about arthritis. That's a part. And I would notice that in so many of these people, there were tremendous grudges that they were harboring. So it was not a one-to-one correlation. We cannot say that this 100% connected to this. But there was such a tremendous correlation there that I could not ignore it. And then I had these two devotees in Delhi, in India. I asked them, why haven't you been coming for my workshops in the evening? So the husband said, Swamiji, what to do? My wife is not well. She's having tremendous arthritis. I said, you harbor a lot of grudges. I took a fluke shot. So he said, yes, Swamiji, that's the whole problem. She has all these grudges against the neighbors, against the relatives, etc. Then the lady spoke up. He said, yes, you hit the nail on the head. You know what happens, Swamiji? When I keep my mind free from grudges, that day is much better. And when I wake up with this huge grudge, I find my arthritis has gone worse. So she's correlating it in her life on a day-to-day basis. This is the mind, the connection between the mind and the physical disease. So the physical disease has its connection going back to the vital energy sheath, which goes back to the mental dimension. And what about the diseases in the mental dimension? They have their origins in the intellectual dimension of our personality. In other words, it is wrong values, or it is animalistic values very often, deleterious values that lead to one's lifestyle veering off in the direction, tremendous indulgence, lack of control, lack of discipline. And then that leads to the mind becoming poisonous. If one becomes too attached to the pleasures of the senses, that poisons the mind. So ultimately, if we wish to keep our mind free from negativities, we cannot just do it by itself. We have to take a look at our values. We need to correct ourselves from there. And what are all these? So we now come to the intellectual sheath, the Vijnanmaya Kosh. And what are all these values all about? Why do we form values? Ultimately, we all want bliss. That's the universal common factor amongst all of us. The moment the bliss ceases, we do the reverse. You see, I give lectures, that's my job, my duty. People sit, they keep enjoying it, and suddenly they get up. I say, what happened? Oh, you became so boring now. Earlier, sitting down was giving me bliss. Now that bliss is dried up, so getting up is giving me bliss. The activities have reversed, sitting down, getting up. But the goal is remaining the same, bliss. So we all want bliss. Where that bliss lies, we have our convictions, we have our values, we have our beliefs. And then in accordance with that, the thought process begins. And when the thought process begins, everything goes in that direction. If somebody has formed this value for some reason that money is everything, the thoughts will be in that direction, the actions will be in that direction. If somebody has created this belief, this value, that service to others is the sublime thing, is the means for bliss, then the thoughts are in that direction and the lifestyle is in that direction. So finally, how does it all fit in? Our values, proper values, the Vedas say. Now, I'm just giving you a viewpoint, all right? I'm not trying to indoctrinate. That's absolutely not my goal. I have been requested to come here. I'm just presenting you this knowledge. The Vedas tell us that in order to form proper values, you need to understand who you are. If there's a mistake there, supposing you start your mathematics computation from here, that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Now everything that you do afterwards, there will be a compounding mistake. The initial mistake will multiply. Similarly, who are you? This needs to be clarified. This body has numerous cells, and these cells are constantly regenerating. Old cells are dying out, new cells are taking their place. Some people estimate that within 7 years, most of the cells will have changed. Deepak Chopra in his book, he estimates that within 1 year, 98% of our molecules change. We are breathing in, the oxygen is traveling, it's utilized in the metabolic reactions, the carbon dioxide is released. So 98% molecules change within a year. And yet we realize we are the same people. So where does our identity come from? The basis of the identity is the unchanging particle within the changing body. That unchanging particle is referred to in spiritual literature around the world as the soul, the spirit, the Atman, etc. That is spiritual particle is non-material. The body is material. That is non-material. It is a part of the divine. And hence our medical instruments are not able to reach it. What the medical instruments reach are the symptoms of the soul. The symptom of the soul is consciousness. As long as the soul is present, the body is conscious. The moment the soul leaves, consciousness departs. If this death was merely a chemical reaction, every chemical reaction is reversible, chemistry tells us. So death then theoretically should be reversible. But all the religious traditions around the world inform us that the soul has left the basis of consciousness. What is left is just matter. That is the real I. And that I, the soul, is connected with the whole, with the divine, with God, with Brahman, with the Supreme. So the connection is of the part and the whole, like the hand being a part of the body. It's an integral part of the body. So this hand, its work is to take food, put it into the mouth. It receives nourishment from the body automatically. The hand does not need to take care of itself. It just serves the whole, and it's taken care of. Now, if the hand refuses to accept this connection, and the hand says, so many years have gone by serving the body, take water, put it here, enough is enough. I've got no more interest in this. Cut me off from the body. The hand, cut off from the body, cannot sustain itself. The self-interest of the hand lay in serving what it is a part of. So similarly, the individual consciousness is a part of the Supreme Consciousness. When they are united, that is the state of yoga. The word yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yog. And the root word yog means union, to link up. When the individual is linked up with the whole, that is yoga. Presently, that individual consciousness is delinked. This is a state of viyog. So the reverse of yoga is viyog. That viyog is leading to bhog. Bhog is endeavoring to enjoy the material delights. So this endeavor of bhog is unnatural, and that is causing rog. Rog means disease. So the viyog has led to bhog, materialistic indulgence, which is the consequence of that is rog or disease. So if the soul really wishes to cure itself, it has to change its values and decide that the happiness I seek is in connection with the whole. And when this decision takes place, the values get corrected. And in accordance with those values, the mind has to be trained. The values have to be practiced by the intellect through repeated decision. Then the mind has to be trained through meditation. So meditation has its part in training and in managing the mind. Further, there is a technique called pranayama. In any yogic system, or any yoga studio that you visit, they will also teach you pranayama. Pranayama are the breathing techniques. So the breathing techniques or the pranayama are for revitalizing our pranamaya, our vital energy dimension. And then finally, for the gross body, we have the physical postures or the yogasanas. So the aim of the yogasanas, which is called yoga in short in English, is very simple. First benefit is use it or lose it. So as one tends to increase in age, after 40, now it's looking the other way. You need to keep old age at bay. And the best way to do that is to keep using. So the yogic system covers the entire body from your feet, toes, all the way up to the eyes. The fact that you are using your whole body is ensuring that you are not losing it. And further, through the various flexes, we are enhancing the flow not only of blood, but also of the vital energy, which is the pranic energy. And further, the yogic way of toning up the organs is that you squeeze them, or you stretch them, or you twist them, or you turn them. So through this way, for example, we have the thyroid here. Now the yogic way of toning up the thyroid is you do the shoulder stand. So this gets squeezed, and then you follow it up with the fish pose, the Matsyasana, where it gets stretched. You do these two. And then in the pranayam, there is a third technique, the Ujjayi pranayam, where you pull your throat in and breathe in. In this way, through pushing, pulling, twisting, turning, we tone up the organs. And many of the yogic postures are also for strengthening. For example, how do you take care of the knees? So the yogic system says, look, if the muscles are strong, the joints will automatically function well. So the yogic posture there is for strengthening the muscles. Similarly for the back. And that is the theory behind the yogasanas. So the yogasanas, the pranayam, the meditation, proper knowledge to create the right values, and ultimately the search of divine bliss in the proper place. So this is the Vedic understanding of the holistic system of yoga, which is called yoga in the West. Thank you all very much.